Hello, and this is case number 3 for all of you out there. Are we ready? Okay. Observation 1, Inherency. The Cuban government is determined to conduct drilling operations in the North Cuba Basin. Subpoint A, the North Cuba Basin contains massive reserves of oil and natural gas, from Booth 12. Last month, Repsol, a Spanish oil and gas company, using a state-of-the-art Norwegian-designed, Chinese-built submersible rig called Scarborough 9, began drilling in the first of a series of deep-water exploratory drills in the Florida Straits at a cost of $500,000 a day. According to a 2004 study by the U.S. Geological Survey, there could be 5 billion barrels of undiscovered oil reserves in the North Cuba Basin. While some U.S. lawmakers might not like it, Cuba has every right to drill for oil in its own waters. Subpoint B, the Cuban government has contracted with foreign companies to drill in the North Cuba Basin. Sullivan, 11. At present, Cuba has agreements in place for 6 concessions involving 7 foreign oil companies for the exploration of offshore oil and gas. Repsol from Spain, Norix from Norway, ONGC from India are partners in a joint project, while ONGC, PVVSA, which is Venezuela, Pentros, which is Malaysia, Petro-Vietnam, and Petrobras, which is Brazil, have separate concessions. In addition, Cuba is in negotiation with the Chinese National Petroleum Corporation and Angola Sonangol for offshore leases. Subpoint C. The embargo prevents appropriate planning for an oil spill in the North Cuba Basin. Dooley, 11. The United States has already plans with Mexico and Canada for handling oil spills in shared waters. The U.S. needs a similar accord with Cuba, said Thad Allen, the former Coast Guard admiral who headed the Deepwater Horizon response. Quote, "We need to figure out what are the barriers that might prohibit us from being more effective in a response with Cuba and start attacking those now from a legislative standpoint," Allen said in an interview. "Right now we're pretty much prohibited from doing anything." Observation 2, Harms. Subpoint, the exclusion of U.S. entities from planning for oil extraction in the North Cuba Basin risks devastating harm. Subpoint A, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill illustrates the dangers of deepwater oil drilling. Bard, 10. A wide range of technical innovations have allowed the industry to venture into ever deeper waters to produce with the massive reserves of oil and gas found there. Admittedly, the payoff of pushing the technology envelope is enormous, and for the foreseeable future the world will be highly reliant on these fossil fuels. But the Deepwater Horizon tragedy proved that, in this high-stakes game, poor judgment and faulty equipment can bring horrible consequences. Subpoint B. Present plans to drill in the North Cuba Basin risk horrible harm. White, 10. As Leon, an employee at the Florida Keys Wild Bird Center in Key Largo, Florida, told the Atlantic Journal in 2006, drilling in Cuban waters necessarily affects Florida's coast. Leon commented on the prospect of drilling off Cuba. Quote, "That's absolutely scary. The Florida Keys don't have sandy beaches, and you couldn't just scoop up oil if it was a spill." Unquote. Moreover, the risk of oil development in the Straits threatens the entire ecosystem. Oil spills and industrial contamination do not adhere to the political boundaries, nor does aquatic life respect territorial boundaries. For example, dolphins stranded in the 2005 in the Florida Keys immediately returned to Cuban waters once re-released in the wild. Therefore, we offer the following plan. The United States federal government will substantially increase its economic engagement toward Cuba by amending the Trade Sanctions Reform and Export Enhancement Act of 2000 to exempt certain energy activities from the Cuban embargo. 1. U.S. entities will be permitted to engage in any transaction necessary for either exploration and extraction of hydrocarbon resources or for oil spill prevention and cleanup in the North Cuba Basin. 2. Import into the United States and hydrocarbon resources and products that are extracted under this exemption. And 3, U.S. persons will be authorized under a general license to travel to or from Cuba in connection with activities related to this exception. Observation 3. Solvency. The involvement of U.S. entities in deep water drilling in the North Cuba Basin will prevent devastating harm. Subpoint A. Joint U.S.-Cuba planning in the event of an oil spill will decrease the risk of a disaster. Riley 12. Providing Repsol and Cuban regulators with access to resources for spill prevention and response will not further the development of the Cuba's oil and gas industry. That is already underway. What it will do is help protect Key West. It is profoundly in the interest of the United States that we get this right. Subpoint B. The expertise of U.S. entities will substantially decrease the risk of harm. Ganal 10. In the age of modern technology, it should be possible to engage in offshore oil drilling exploration with minimal negative environmental effects. Steps have already been taken in the United States to improve the technology associated with offshore oil drilling, which has already made the industry much safer. Continued research and development will help improve technology even further. With the appropriate government oversight and regulation, it may be possible to drill off the coasts of Florida and California without covering the beaches with sludge and killing thousands of seabirds. This is a goal worth working for. The safety systems now required to be implemented by oil companies have greatly improved, and in recent years the oil industry has had a good safety record. Additional regulations will be mandated in the near future as well. For example, beginning in 2015, all tankers in U.S. waters will be required to be double-hulled vessels, which are designed to prevent spills if an accident occurs. Subpoint C. Economic engagement is the superior option to prevent an environmental disaster. White 10. Ania French wrote in the Havana Note that the oil spill demonstrates the necessity of dialogue, planning, and technological exchange between the United States and Cuba, so that the Florida Straits oil development proceeds responsibly. Such remarks are timely and vital. Official engagement can only improve the odds that Florida Straits oil drilling proceeds safely. The alternative to engagement is the current political stalemate, under which drilling may move forward in the Florida Straits, while the United States watches from 90 miles away to see whether Cuba's professed sustainable revolution succeeds in protecting this shared marine ecosystem. Such a scenario has become entirely undesirable in light of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, and even without the unpreceded spill, an array of political leaders, lawyers, and scientists have demonstrated an abiding commitment to collaboration. I am now open for cross-examination and points of clarification. And that was number 3.